I didn't fight my way through a battalion of parademons to be told to calm down!
And they say I got a temper.
You have me at a loss, Mr.
My name is Orion. I fled from the fire pits of Apocalypse to warn you. He's coming.
Who is?
Darkseid.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose, I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the DC fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We have 2 issues left on the Orion run. I've pretty much been covering this one kind of just for me, because really these Orion videos just don't get that much of a play, which is very sad, not because of the video itself for me, but I love Walter Simonson, and I think his art and his storytelling deserve to be seen. But Walter Simonson is still one of the more popular artists out there. I absolutely love his work. I'm a huge fan of his. Real quick, I am using the DC fan site here, and I found a small version of this cover, but I think the cover looks that the way without all the words, it unfortunately this I think is much better than the plain thing here. It just those letters really do make a big impact. I just think that it just makes the cover more complete, in my opinion. This issue, of course, is from 2002, so 23 years as of today's recording. So hard to believe. It feels like yesterday. The man, it's amazing how time flies. So, the Eyes of the Hunter. We are in Apocalypse, and of course, Darkseid sits on his throne. Walter Simonson is with his inking buddy from his days at X Factor, Bob Wyacek, or Wyacek. Darkseid says here, since my return to Apocalypse, Justine, I have studied the complete report on events that occurred during my absence. Mortala is very thorough. Real quick, I do have a playlist. I have covered each issue of Orion from the very beginning. Feel free to check that out if you would so wish. But Darkseid continues, but this final item is a surprise, even to me. I like this panel of her just looking, not even looking, it just how you would imagine someone kind of just staring, not at the person they're talking to, because you can see here he's coming from the side and she's looking straight ahead. So, and Darkseid continues here, do I understand correctly that you allowed a temporal bender to be taken out of my personal armory and placed in mortal hands, that you sold it to a human who has, for the past 7 months, been draining Orion's lifelong energies to prolong his own existence? And who, now that Orion has escaped and is hunting him, is apparently attempting to destroy my son? So, very cool here. Now, I do love how Frank Welker portrayed Darkseid in the old Super Friends cartoon. Frank Welker, by the way, is the voice of Megatron also in the animated movies, and he would portray Darkseid with a very low voice, kind of like that. So he would say something like, "And who now that Orion has escaped?" Sorry, I just can't seem to do that. Makes my throat tickle. So, anyway. In addition, do you think I am unaware that it was you who unleashed, without authorization, a suicide jockey squad, resulting in the death of my former wife, Tigra? Yes, well, I don't regret Tigra's death. It was quite useful to me at the time, but that's not the point, he says. And so she continues staring. The Sod may be dead, but that does not mean that, as his second, you are automatically extended his privileges. Even the Sod knew his limits. And you have taken a great deal unto yourself, Justine, more than many who fear the wrath of darkseid. Have you any explanation or excuse? Says a mighty darkseid. And Justine here says, My lord, you are a fool. Orion may yet be your bane. I do not know if the old prophecies were satisfied with your apparent death in the fire pits during your battle with Orion before the assembled multitudes of Apocalypse and New Genesis, but the life of Darkseid will forever be at hazard so long as you gratify your indulgence to your renegade son. And Darkseid's like, indeed. And if Arnicus Wolfram can kill Orion with the help of a temporal bender, it will have been worth the cost. I'd have given it to him for nothing if I thought he'd understood its true value. Now, do your worst. I would willingly give my life for my Lord Darkseid if I thought it would save his. I see. Dismissed. My lord. I says dismissed. I will consider the matter, says Darkseid. And you can see him smiling. The reports were right. She is a fireball. And he chuckles here. And Mortalis like, You can see in the eyes, she's throwing daggers with her eyes because she's angry. So back on Earth here, in an airplane above the Pacific Ocean here. Mr. Wolfram, I've got an on-screen blip tailing us. It's running an intersecting course and closing in fast, says the pilot. I see it. Mach 0.93. He'll catch us in about 75 seconds. The silhouette doesn't quite match his known configuration, but there can be any question as to this bogey's identity. I was hoping he wouldn't find me quite so quickly. So here we see Orion, and this here is a cap that he's been wearing. And these two here are helping him put on some kind of armor here. And Mr. Wolfram says, I wanted to get closer to Yuluk Lab, but my jetpack should make it from here. Ladies, if you would be so kind as to assist me. Okay. Pair of buckles in the back. Thank you. I do regret this deeply. You have both been quite useful, as well as ornamental. Pilot, of course, I can always get. Arnie! And so he's opening up. It looks like a boom tube, but it is not because it doesn't say boom behind it. Just so it's some kind of teleporter here. And Orion says, Mother Box, there's a distortion field developing around Wolfram's plane analysis. And Mother Box says, ping, 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 ping. And Orion says, couldn't be. How could he have gotten a hold of a bender? Even Darkseid wouldn't cough one up to a mortal. And he says, a space-time vortex. He's phasing out of temporal continuity and destroying everything around him. Hold us here. Full redundancy, regeneration. So, lots of words here. And so Mother Box says, ping, 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 ping. All right. You can skip the I told you so's. He had a temporal bender, says Orion. There's nothing left of his plane but dust. Survivors, ping, 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 ping. I didn't think so. Can you track him? And Mother Box like, ping, 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 ping. Then we'll have to find somebody who can. So Orion is now going to go to the home of Metron here. Says between time and place, between Apocalypse and New Genesis. So Orion gets there and says, hello, Metron. And Metron says, sample pollutants, including interesting ratios of carbon monoxide to nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide. And other stuff here. Dry cleaning, carpentry carpeting, and plenty of car and truck traffic. I said hello, Metron, as he walks through. And Metron is still talking here. 14 kinds of East Coast pollen with one extremely ancient water lily, indicating either a sample contamination or a botanical garden. And so he says, Metropolis. And Orion says, how interesting. I too have a query location problem. Is this some sort of fancy dress? Ball in reverse? I haven't the time, Orion. Don't bother me, says Metron. And you can see Orion kind of going, oh my goodness, like putting a fist like he's going to hit Metron in there. He says, it isn't a ball. I have plenty of time, and I am bothering you. With malice aforethought, unless you're willing to volunteer a little assistance, Metron, which is more than you did while I was strung up for 7 months thinking about dying. And Metron's like, irk. So, and Orion continues here. With your Mobius chair, you could have pulled me out of Wolfram's trap whenever you wanted to. Time is no barrier to you. And Metron says, why should I bother? You've chosen to involve yourself with mortals repeatedly. I'm not sure Earth is even worth saving, let alone visiting regularly. And Metron continues here. Destroying it would eliminate all those bothersome anti-life equation fragments that worry darkseid, and keeping you out of trouble is a fruitless enterprise. And Orion says, true enough. That's why you're going to earn my pardon the easy way. And Orion continues here. By analyzing an energy signature Mother Box made of a mortal just as he vanished, it would seem that he was wearing a temporal bender. Really? Now that's remarkable. Now we can see here that this is being highlighted here. So is the fact that Mother Box came back to you. I wasn't sure she would, you know. Well, let me see, continues Metron. Signal strength's not high enough, but there is a residual negative vector. Your man's gone into the past. I can't give you an exact location. He seems to have been moving laterally as he entered the time bend, continues Metron. And then Metron gives this to Orion. I think this is the Mother Box here. Central Pacific Ocean is the best I can do. Dates firm, however, October 31st, 1952. Is that Greenwich Mean Time or Eastern Standard Time? And Metron says, no need to sneer. GMT, of course. My instruments are quite precise. So, it is funny to me that they use human dates here. So, and Orion says, no sneer intended, but you're still a day off. However, you've given me the answer I needed. So I'm taking your chair. I need to reach an old time and place. And Metron says, as he puts his arm on his shoulder, not a chance. I don't lend it out. And in any case, you couldn't control it. It's tuned explicitly to my aura. And he takes off his glasses. Of course, he has no eyes anymore. And he says, retune it. And Metron's like, Orion, as he screams out. I had no idea. How are you getting around? Says Metron. And Orion answers him, I hear, I smell, I feel, I taste everything, and Mother Box helps me. Don't get in my way, Metron. Wolfram will be mine if I have to destroy half the New Gods to reach him. And Metron says, temporal benders are priceless, incredibly rare. Apocalypse only manufactured a very few in secrets. A time war among the gods is too dangerous, even for darkseid to contemplate risking it. The chair is yours. We can't permit mortals to damage gods, so sets a bad precedent. I do apologize on the reading here. And Metron continues here. You will bring it back undamaged. It would be extremely difficult to replace. And Metron asks, "Where are you going?" And he says, "Somewhere that no longer exists. Elugelab Island, the Pacific Ocean. I'll be back." So Ujalab was in the Marshall Islands, and it was actually a small little island and an atoll, if you'd like, that was destroyed by the first nuclear test thermonuclear test in November 1st of 1952. So it's technically not the the bomb in Hiroshima or anything like that, but it was a bomb called Big Mike. So this is the day before here. So you see all these ships kind of leaving here, and suddenly you hear this crack, and in comes our bad guy here, and he says, "Good, they're all gone, and I've still got hours before they light the candle." So the servos in my hazard suit will make burying the radiation bomb in the coral a piece of cake. Orion will find some way to follow. He'll be here. I don't know what it takes to kill a god, but this should do it. And so he grabs one of these things here. And afterwards, I'll locate some other more tractable god to capture, and I'll drain his life energies as I drained Orion's. Then, once again, the future will be open to me, eternal life forever. And so, I have fought my own battles in a long time, but I came up the hard way so long ago. So, this guy is from 1177, so we're going to get here. He's had a very long life. So while he was torturing prisoners here, it says here he discovered that if he killed them, he could take their life. He says, "I did not have to forgive my enemies. I could consume them." So, but nothing lasts forever, and he had to eventually run away. But, of course, he continued to live and consolidate power. He continues here, "I wove my new empire through the social and economic fabric of dozens of countries, an empire of influence and power, and I swore I would never again leave myself naked to my enemies until today." And you can see him bearing that thing here. "But once the weapons of apocalypse I bought have rendered Orion helpless, the weapons of man shall destroy him. Then I will be free to begin again." So back in Apocalypse here, and Justine, and you can see here, like, what? And she goes, "Mortala." And she says, "A word in your ear, Justine. Rumor has it that you are in line for a promotion. I wish to be the first to congratulate you and to add a word of caution. I have seen the fire in your eyes when I look at darkseid. If I see that fire again, I may have to your eyes put out, or better still, guard." "Yes, milady." And she touches him here, and he's like, "Irk," and tosses him. And at the hand of death, Justine, ignore it at your peril. So remember that she can kill people just by the touch. And see to it that the body is removed before my lord comes this way awake. His is a fastidious nature. So, and back in Elojalab, looks like he's finally buried them here. And so, Radion can paralyze a new god, and I've planted a couple of dozen bombs around the site. The temporal bender cost me nearly my entire fortune, but that young lady knew the value of her goods. By all accounts, especially from those JLA reports, Orions will come thundering in here like a runaway express train. What a pleasure it will be to see the look on his face when he arrives and discovers the fate that awaits him. Too late, of course. The crack of the space-time vortex as he arrives should give me sufficient warning, and then boom, there even won't be any ashes to scattered. Of course, Orion is there. He says, "You don't know quite as much as you need to know about the new gods, Arnicus. The Mobius chair is silent. I'm already here." And so he puts on his helmet here. Then you've already made your mistake. You should have taken me silently before I was aware of you. I've rigged a dead man's switch to my protective suit. If you touch me, the bomb will explode, and if you stand there, I'll explode them anyway. It's over, Orion. You've entered a trap big enough to kill even a god. And so I'm not going to read all this here. We're basically getting a lesson in the bomb and when it's going to explode. So the guy's like, Greenwich, local time. What the hell are you talking about? And how the blazes do you know all that stuff? So this part is true. That happened here. Usually will cease to exist. Just an underwater crater, 164 feet deep, and more than a mile wide. 80 million tons of soil will be blown into the sky by the explosion. So, that part is true. That did happen. So Orion says he's the god of war, and he knew that he would be there for the detonation of the first hydrogen bomb. That's what I was trying to get to when I was saying nuclear bomb, and that wasn't true. It says it wasn't difficult to deduce your plan. And Orion says, what better place to try to kill me than at ground zero of one of the biggest explosions ever set off by man? So here we stand. And he says, that's right. And here you're going to die. Love this. Simonson is so cool. And then he tosses and he's like, I'm afraid you don't fully understand the complexities of your situation, Arnicus, says Orion. I have many names, but in this time this time and place, I am Nemesis. Once I knew that you were using time as a weapon, I decided to turn it against you. And he says, before I arrived at Ugilab, I took the liberty of visiting Metropolis as a few days before my configuration there with Jingles Jericho. And so we get that. That was in Orion 23 and 24. So I wanted to keep any damage to the time stream to a minimum, so I altered only those items necessary for our meeting here. I already knew that I would survive Jingle's ingenious attempt to kill me. Using the Mobius chair instrumentation, I searched for trace elements, the telectals that were easy enough to locate even in Metropolis. But a warehouse was a rash choice. You might have destroyed the entire city in the moment of carelessness. I found your store of apocalyptic weapons and dismantled the appropriate fuses and firing mechanisms. Your radon bombs are harmless. I guessed you hadn't familiarized yourself with the armaments of the new gods. You wouldn't be able to tell. But that's what you get when you deal with amateurs. And here you see click, 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 click. So, and Orion says, you see, even the gods are careful about time travel, Arnicus. Too many variables, too risky. Once there were an infinite number of universes, an infinite number of Earths, then catastrophe, and since then even the gods have had difficulty sorting out the time stream. Most of us, Metron accepted, thanks to his chair and his curiosity, leave it alone. And here you can see him grabbing the helmet here, and he rips it off. Now there's just enough for us to conclude our business here. I thought you might like to view your handiwork. And he's like, no. And you can see him coming to grab. And suddenly, he takes his eyes and puts them on himself. The hunt is over, says Orion. So I'm going to kind of skip over the rest. It's really not needed. It's just talking about gods and humans and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, you can see here Orion is going to leave the area and gets on the Mobius chair. And so you can see here that they're gonna about to blow the bomb, and boom. Look at this. Nice work by Simonson here. Oopsie. And finally, now we are back at Apocalypse here. So Apocalypse calls Justine here because they're witnessing the explosion here. And she calls Justine here and says, well, it looks like we've reached the conclusion of your business with Wolfram. And Orion sent a note that says, don't do this again. And Darkseid realizes that he destroyed his device here. And he says, he crumples the paper and tosses it. And Darkseid says, I seriously doubt that you'll be able to kill Orion, but if you intend to continue to try, I would watch my back. He may not appreciate the attention. And so we are in the last page here. We're now in Metropolis here. So he's asking for the Daily Planet for November 1st, 1952. And this guy's like, what? Are you crazy? And he says, I'll just take the top one. And the guy's just shocked. He says, thank you. And so he reads it here. And of course, the H-bomb was successful here. So we get to our final issue here. Orion, Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, and Frogs. An extra-length thriller about the secret history of apocalypses and a revelation you won't believe. So the conclusion of Walter Simonson's run on Orion. Orion number 24. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening, even if most of you probably won't hear the Orion one. It has been a pleasure. So we have one more to go. Have a great night. Bye-bye.